We were passing the salad when Mom said it. "You'll never be in Lila's league." Forks paused. Glasses hovered. My pulse kicked. I stood. "Then put her on your autopay," I said. "Ask your star to cover the bills." Silence swallowed the room. I felt my cheeks burn, but my spine held. That was the moment I chose myself. It sounds small. It saved me. And it was the first crack in a wall I'd been pushing against my whole life. What I learned after that dinner would rewrite everything I believed about my family. My name is Mina Kwong. I'm 31, the younger of 2 daughters. From the sidewalk, our house looks like a postcard. White fence, lemon tree, wind chimes that sing even when there's no wind. Inside comparison is a language. Mom speaks it like poetry. Dad teaches 9th grade science. He smells like chalk and coffee. He likes bad puns and Sunday crosswords. He sees people as experiments that deserve patience. Mom runs a flower shop and keeps books for 3 small businesses. She likes neat columns matching napkins and daughters who can be displayed. My sister Lila is 35, pediatric surgeon, calm hands, straight posture, magazine smile. Even the way she sneezes sounds successful. Teachers used to light up when they learned I was Lila's little sister. Their eyes would scan my face like a barcode. "Will you scan at the same price?" I did not. I was average on paper and loud in color. Math slid off my brain like oil on water. But I could taste a sauce and tell you what it needed. I could look at a plate and know where the eye would land first. Food was my language before I had big words. When I was 7, Lila played a violin solo so clean it made our principal cry. The next day, I baked cupcakes with lavender frosting and painted tiny moons on top with edible gold. I carried the tray like treasure to Mom. "They taste like soap," she said after one bite. "And the gold is crooked. Lila doesn't rush." I learned that day where applause goes in our house. Dad tried to be my bridge. He'd sit at our small kitchen table while I whisked. "You have a strange superpower," he'd say. "You make people quiet when they eat." He'd ask for drawings of dishes, then pin them on the corkboard in his classroom. He told his students his younger daughter was an artist. He meant it. It helped. It didn't change the scoreboard Mom kept in her head. Middle school hurt. Lila was a hurricane of trophies. Debate, science Olympiad, volunteering hours that seemed to breed in the dark. I won most creative lunch. It wasn't a real award. A teacher said it as a joke because I carved faces into apples and brought rice shaped like stars. Mom laughed in the car. "Focus on work that counts, Mina." So I tried. I stayed after for math help. I underlined textbooks until the pages looked bruised. The numbers still danced away. At night, I watched cooking shows with the sound low and copied the knife grip I saw on screen. I stacked pancakes like architecture and took photos on Dad's old phone. I learned light by moving a desk lamp around a plate. High school arrived carrying the promise that I could reinvent myself. I joined the culinary club. I found 2 people who felt like home Kai, who could make a sandwich look like a magazine cover, and Aunt Rosa, Dad's older sister, who ran a tiny diner with cracked red stools and a coffee pot that never rested. Kai became my anchor. Aunt Rosa became my lab. The first time I entered a citywide teen cook-off, I used cheap salmon and citrus peels to make something bright enough to taste like sunshine. I won 2nd place. I ran into the house, grinning with a silver medal and a gift card. Mom didn't look up from her laptop. "Second?" she asked. Lila never settled for second. I was 16. Something in my chest folded itself small. Senior year, the guidance counselor asked about my plans. "Culinary school," I said. "Food styling. Maybe editorial work." He smiled. "You lit up when you said that." I told Mom. She shook her head. "You're not throwing away a mind on overpriced cooking classes. Study something solid. Accounting. Your hands can always stir at home." That winter, I filled out applications anyway. I mailed one with shaking hands. When the acceptance letter came with a partial scholarship, Dad hugged me so hard I squeaked. Mom stared at the paper like it was a bill we couldn't afford. "Fine," she said, "but don't expect help when it gets hard." It did get hard. I learned how hot a kitchen really is. I learned that burns happen in silence, and pride smells like butter that's gone too far. I also learned that when the light is right, and the herbs are fresh, and the camera loves the plate, time stops. My professors talked about balance and negative space. I listened with my whole body. I took extra shifts at Aunt Rosa's to cover rent and books. I styled toast for a grocery ad for $70 and thought I'd hacked life. Lila finished her residency and posted a photo in scrubs with a caption about saving tiny lives. The comments poured in like confetti. Mom printed the photo and framed it on the mantle. When I landed a small spread in a regional food blog, Mom said cute, then asked if I'd considered shadowing an accountant as a fallback. I dated a video editor named Theo for a year and a half. He understood deadlines and weird hours. He didn't understand why I wouldn't pitch to bigger clients for exposure. We argued about money and risk and the comfort of a steady paycheck. We ended on a Tuesday over pad thai that went cold. He took the leftover plant. I kept the wok. Through all of it, Kai stayed. We shot mock campaigns in my apartment with lamps on chairs and foam boards taped to walls. He called my taste buds GPS with feelings. When I doubted, he'd say, "Your lane is yours." He held the door open when discouragement tried to move in. Which brings me back to that dinner, Mom's 62nd birthday. She requested roast chicken, 3 kinds of chutney, and real linen, not those paper squares. I cooked. Of course I cooked. Lila arrived in soft gray, glowing with the kind of peace people pay for. Her husband Aaron carried a bouquet from Mom's shop. Mom lit candles and called it atmosphere. I called it smoke. We ate. We did the script. Lila talked about a new surgical technique. Mom asked follow-up questions like a detective. Dad nodded and refilled water. I mentioned a campaign I'd styled for a kitchen brand. The company loved it. It was my biggest invoice yet. Mom smiled without her eyes. Mina is still doing her little photos, she told Aaron. Hobby that pays for groceries. I sipped water and tasted pennies. Then Mom moved the night to its real purpose. Your father and I are thinking of a vow renewal for our 40th, she said. Venue quotes are outrageous. Lila already offered to cover the deposit. She looked at me. You'll contribute too. I can design the whole event, I said. Menus, flowers, lighting. I'll make it beautiful without breaking the budget. She sighed. Money, Mina. You're 31. It's time to be practical. That's when I stood. That's when the words fell out. Then put her on your auto-pay. Dad's fork clinked. Lila's eyes shone with a kind of hurt I wasn't ready to name. Mom went still, then cold. Don't be dramatic, she said. We've always supported you. Have you? I almost asked. But something in me shifted from begging to seeing. I set my napkin down. I'm done paying an apology, I said quietly. If Lila is your measure, ask her to fund your dreams. I walked to the porch. The night air felt like medicine. The lemon tree rustled. My hands trembled, then steadied. For the first time, my voice had not asked permission to exist. Behind me, the living room murmured. A chair scraped. The wind chimes sang like they'd been waiting. I stood there and thought about a stack of weird little things that never made sense, a credit card offer I never requested, a bank clerk who once called to confirm my cosign, Mom's tidy spreadsheets I was never allowed to see. I didn't know it yet, but a thread had been pulled. By the end of this, I would find out why money vanished when my balance said it should be there. I would learn who kept a secret file with my name on it, and I would decide how far truth should go when it's finally unwrapped. I took one more breath and turned back toward the door. Part of me hoped for apology. Another part braced for war. I didn't get either that night. I got something worse and better, a hint. It came from the least likely person at the table. It would lead me straight to the first proof that I wasn't crazy. That's where this story really begins. The door clicked behind me. Wind chimes answered. I was still breathing through anger when the least likely person stepped onto the porch. Aaron. He kept his voice low. Mina, I'm sorry. That was rough. I'm fine, I lied. He leaned on the rail like it might hear him better than I would. I wasn't going to say anything. It's not my place. But a few months ago, your mom asked me a question about refinancing. I turned for the flower shop. He nodded. She wanted general advice. I manage risk at Northline Bank. I told her I couldn't consult, not even for family, but she mentioned a small business line, old supplier debt, cash flow. Then she said, Mina has great credit. She could co-sign. My mouth went dry. I didn't co-sign. I know, he said quickly. I told her not to drag kids into business credit, and I dropped it. But later, when I ran a routine report for a training case, I saw a soft inquiry attached to your file from a place called Sunland Capital. It shouldn't have been in our stack. It looked like a forwarded example. Someone had blurred most fields, but not the borrower initials. MQ. He held my gaze. You should pull your report. Tonight. The lemon tree rustled like it understood. Thanks, I said. The word felt too small. Inside chairs scraped. Voices rose and fell. Aaron went back in. I stared at the sky until my hands stopped shaking. Then I drove home on muscle memory. I opened my laptop, typed in the site everyone uses, answered questions only my bank would know. The report loaded slow, like it was trying to be kind. It wasn't. There it was. Sunland Capital, 2 years old, balance too high for a just in case, monthly autopay. Another account I didn't recognize, a store card for a supply company I had never purchased from, and a phone plan line I didn't own. My stomach flipped. My brain started sorting when how I scrolled. The Sunland note listed an authorized agent. The name was redacted. The address was my parents' house. I clicked through every tab. There was a tiny line under payment source external account ending in 1427. That was my checking, the one I used in college, the one Mom helped me open at 17. I didn't cry. I took out a notebook instead. Teacher's kid move, dates in a column. Amounts, notes. A pattern drew itself. Autopay came out on the 12th. My balance dips. I could never explain. Most of them were the 12th. I called Kai. He picked up on the second ring. Say it fast or I'll say it's going to be okay until it is. Sunland, I said. In my name. I never signed. He went silent, then calm. Okay. Freeze your credit. All 3 bureaus. Do it now. Screenshots. Then call the bank first thing and ask for a fraud appointment. I'll go with you. You have work. I have a best friend, he said. Text me the time. I froze my credit. I took screenshots like evidence would evaporate if I blinked. Then I slept for 90 minutes with my heart sprinting and woke to a gray that felt like an empty plate. At the branch, a woman with steady eyes led us to a small room. Her badge said Maya. She listened without interrupting as I laid out dates and amounts. She looked at my screenshots without flinching. Let me check your profile, she said, fingers moving. There's an external link to Sunland from a branch authorization 2 summers ago. It shows verified ID on file. She clicked again. There's also a note, presented letter of authorization, parent present. My mother, I said. It sounded too simple for what it meant. Maya rotated the screen. A PDF appeared. A scanned letter with a neat header, Kwong floral in soft green. My name spelled correctly. My signature, not mine. I studied the curve of the M. My M leans left. This one sat upright like it had manners. Someone had practiced. Can I get a copy, I asked. I can't release internal documents, she said gently. But I can print the transaction list for the external transfers and file your fraud report. And I can lock this account to in-person only with you present. Kai squeezed my arm under the table. Do that, he said. Please. Maya printed. Warm paper slid into my hands. Lines. Dates. 12th, 12th, 12th. My breath went shallow. Can you tell me who brought the letter? Her face softened. It lists authorized agent E. Kwang. I'm sorry. I'm not. The words surprised me. They tasted like steel. Thank you. We left with a folder and a number for a case manager. In the parking lot, we sat in the car and didn't start it. I feel stupid, I said finally. You're not, Kai said. You're trusting. Also, family can get where strangers can't. Aunt Rosa might know, I said. Mom tells her things she doesn't tell anyone. We drove to the diner. The bell above the door jingled like an apology. The air smelled like coffee and hot sugar. Aunt Rosa took one look at my face and hugged me before I could speak. What did she do? She asked into my hair. No surprise, just worry. We took a booth. I put the papers on the table. She read. Her jaw tightened. The supplier, she said. 3 years ago, Quinn Wholesale went under and left your mom with paid orders she never got. Weddings on the calendar. She scrambled. Took a short-term loan. Then another. She said she didn't want to bother your dad. She used my name, I said. She told me you offered, Aunt Rosa said, carefully. She said you were building credit. I asked to see the paperwork. She changed the subject. I should have pushed. I'm sorry. It's not on you, I said. It's on the person who forged the letterhead I've seen since I was 5. Rosa sighed. Your mother thinks survival erases sin. It never does. It only delays the bill. The bell jingled again. A regular waved. Rosa flagged the young server to cover her section. Then she looked at me the way people look at a stove they know burns. What are you going to do? Get proof, then decide. Proof meant more than a PDF. Proof meant the file I'd never been allowed to touch, the locked drawer in Mom's office. I could see it in my head. Brown wood, brass knob, thin key with a blue thread tied to it. Mom called it personal business. I called it a box of matches in a dry forest. I texted Dad, can I stop by tonight, need to grab a cookbook? He replied right away, of course, I'll make tea. At their house, Dad hugged me like he hadn't since I was 10. In the kitchen, steam fogged the window. He poured oolong and waited for me to start. I told him, not all of it, enough. He put the cup down very carefully. I knew about the supplier, he said. Not about this. His eyes went glassy. Your mother and I, we don't always share money things. That's on me. I like peace too much. I let the ledger be her kingdom. It was easier to keep the water still, I said. My voice came out softer than I felt. He nodded. Still water can hide deep holes. He wiped his glasses. What do you need? A key, I said, to the office drawer. He gave a small, sad smile. She changed where she hides it 3 times. But old habits don't die. Check the blue sugar tin. Of course, the sugar tin. The place we used to stash birthday candles and lost buttons. The place Mom swore we'd stop using because it was unsanitary. He was telling me she hadn't stopped. I waited until he took the banana bread from the oven. Then I walked down the hall like I lived there, which I used to. The office smelled like paper and eucalyptus. The drawer sat there like it belonged. I opened the top cabinet. The sugar tin was behind the printer paper, dented on one side. Inside, candles, 2 safety pins, a folded grocery list, and a tiny key with a blue thread. I held my breath and slid the key toward the lock. A car door slammed outside. 12 minutes, Dad said from the kitchen, voice too bright. Your mom's home early. My fingers froze on cool metal. I pocketed the key and closed the drawer. I wasn't ready to turn this into a scene. Not yet. I needed time. I needed Lila. I texted her, can we talk tonight? No, Mom. We met at a coffee shop near the hospital. She came in wearing scrubs and a hoodie hair in a messy knot, a smudge on her cheek she hadn't seen. She looked powerful and very tired. I pulled my credit, I said, without warming up. There's a loan. In my name. I didn't sign. She gripped her paper cup. Mom wouldn't. Aaron told me to check I cut in. He saw something months ago. He tried to do the right thing today. Her face changed at his name. What did he say? I told her everything. The inquiry, the letterhead, the drawer. I kept my voice steady. I watched realization walk across her expression like a slow, heavy thing. Mom asked me for help, she said finally. Last year, she said the shop had a bad season. I transferred money twice. I asked if she needed more. She said she had it handled. I didn't ask how. She swallowed. I wanted to believe she had a plan. She did, I said. Use my name. Use my account. Keep the image intact. Lila stared at the table. I'll talk to her. She'll deny, I said. I need documents. Lila looked up, eyes fierce now. Then we get them. Together. She leaned in. Tomorrow morning. I'll text Dad to keep her at the shop. You come over. We open the drawer. She'll notice. We'll put things back, Lila said. Or we stop pretending this family works because we never touch the truth. For the first time that day, I exhaled without pain, okay? We sat in quiet. Then Lila said something that surprised us both. I'm sorry I didn't see you on the porch. I was frozen. You were brave. I was tired, I said. Brave looks like tired on me. She smiled, small and real. On me too. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked my apartment like the floor held answers. I stopped by the bookcase and found a box I hadn't opened in years. Inside the high school silver medal, a photo booth strip with Kai making faces, a letter Dad wrote me when I left for culinary school. I unfolded it. The paper smelled like dust and hope. You do not have to be anyone else to deserve applause, he had written. I taped the line to my wall. Morning came slow and bright. Lila texted Mom, left for the shop early. Dad's home, doors open. I drove with the key in my pocket, pressing a tiny moon into my thigh. The house felt like it always did. Lemon paper lavender from a drawer sachet. Dad met us in the hall. He looked like he'd slept even less than I had. Are we really doing this? He asked. We are, Lila said. We went into the office. I closed the blinds. I took out the blue thread key. My hands shook, but they still knew what to do. The lock turned with a small click. The sound was a door in my head opening too. Inside manila folders, rubber-banded stacks of envelopes, a small notebook with a black, elastic strap. Tabs with names written in Mom's precise block letters. Lila, Mina, house, shop, tax. I reached for Mina. Wait, Lila said. Phone's on airplane mode. No photos. Look fast. Decide after. We flipped the cover. The first document was a copy of my driver's license. I hadn't given her that copy. The second, the Sunland application. My name, my SSN, a signature in my handwriting's clothing. Notes in the margin in Mom's pencil. Due 12th. Don't forget autopay. A sticky note on top, ask Aaron about better rates. My throat closed. There were others. A store card for the supply company, opened online with my email, an address 1 letter off mine. A phone plan line labeled Shop Standby. Autopay logs. A list of passwords coded the way Mom always coded them, flower names as clues. I knew the system. She'd taught me to be organized. I had never imagined she'd use it to burrow under my life. Lila put a hand on the desk like she needed the wood to be real. She did this, she whispered. Not a question, a verdict. I turned a page and stopped. There was a sheet that didn't match the rest. Not bills, not applications, a printout of a calendar with dates circled. On the side, a line in Mom's handwriting, tell Mina after anniversary. Another line below, lighter, almost erased, or never. The front door opened. Mina Mom's voice, too close. Dad stiffened. Lila's eyes widened. I slid the folder shut. The key clinked against the drawer as I turned it. I shoved the blue thread into my pocket and straightened. Mom's footsteps in the hall. The wind chimes outside caught a sudden draft and sang like warning. She stepped into the doorway and took us in the closed blinds, the three of us, the drawer that had just stopped vibrating. What she said, voice flat as a countertop, "Are you doing in my office?" I looked at Lila. She lifted her chin the way surgeons do before the first cut. I had come for proof. I had an armful. Now came the part I wasn't ready for what to do with it, while the person who needed to hear it was standing 3 feet away, holding a paper bag with fresh eucalyptus and a lie in her throat. Talking, I said as calmly as I could. We're talking. It was almost true. The truth would be louder in a minute. Mom filled the doorway with eucalyptus and suspicion. What are you doing in my office? Talking, I said. My voice stayed even, about money. Her gaze dropped to the shut drawer. To my pocket, to Lila's hands braced on the desk like an operating table. I keep our household in order, Mom said. That's not a crime. It is when my name and signature show up on loans. I didn't sign, I answered. Sunland. The supply card. A phone line I don't use. A tick jumped in her cheek. You offered to help the shop when times were tight. No, I said. I asked if you needed me to bring dinner. She did ask me for money, Lila said quietly. I gave it, twice. Mom's eyes slid to her. And you see, we do what families do. Families don't forge, Lila said. The softness left her voice. There's a copy of Mina's license in your drawer. You opened accounts with her name. You linked her checking. Mom straightened. I meant to tell you, after the anniversary, when everything calmed down. The words rang in my head. Tell Mina after anniversary, or never. Dad stepped into the doorway, dish towel in his hand like a white flag. We need to sit. His teacher voice low and steady. All of us. Mom didn't move. You brought them into my files, she said to him, betrayal sharpened to a point. I told Mina where the key likely was, he said. Because my daughter deserves to know where her money goes. We sat. The four corners, Mom at the desk, Lila and I on the small sofa, Dad on the ottoman, like a referee. Explain, I said. Mom set the eucalyptus bag down. Leaves peeked out, green and innocent. 3 years of late wedding payments and 2 canceled corporate contracts nearly broke the shop. I floated payroll from the house account. Your father hates debt. I thought I could fix it quietly. So you used me, I said. She winced like the word burned. I used our resources. Your credit is excellent. You weren't buying a home. It made sense. It was a theft, Lila said. Mom snapped. Easy for you to say from your marble hallway. Do you know what it's like to have 6 couples counting on you and a supplier disappears? To have flowers rot because a delivery truck broke down. You think the bank cares about vows and centerpieces, they care about numbers. I kept us afloat. You kept me in the red, I said. I scraped rent while an autopay I didn't authorize drained my account every month. You survived, she said. You always land on your feet. I laughed. It sounded like a bark. No, I learned to live on leftovers. Dad rubbed his temples. Why Mina's name? Why not mine? Because your debt to income was already stretched after the roof. And Lila's tuition years ago, she said before she could stop herself. We all looked at her. You told us the roof fund covered it, Dad said. Her voice flattened. I told you what you could handle. You mean what kept the water still, I said. Silence. Then Mom looked at the floor. I was going to close everything. The plan was to pay it down shift, it tidy up. Then the anniversary deposit came due. I asked Lila. I was going to ask you, but... You did ask me, I said. On the porch. You just didn't call it asking. Her mouth tightened. My mistake was not telling you sooner. No, Layla said. Your mistake was building a system on a lie. I watched something move behind Mom's eyes. Fear. Something else. Calculation. She inhaled like a swimmer and said, There's more. I wanted to pick the right time. It was right there. The dark thing. I felt it in my bones. Lila must have felt it too. Her hand found my wrist for half a second. Dad leaned forward. Say it. Mom looked at him, then at me. After the anniversary, she started. Say it now, I said. She folded in on herself. Not like this. Then we stop, I said, standing. I'm filing fraud. I'll send you the case number. Then we can let a stranger ask the questions you won't answer. Her head snapped up. Don't you dare drag this family through. You dragged me, I said. I'm climbing out. I left the office. Lila followed. Dad did too. Mom stayed in that chair staring at the eucalyptus bag like it could fix the air. In the hallway, Dad whispered, Give me a day. For what I asked. To find what she couldn't say. I nodded. You know where she hides things. He didn't deny it. Outside, the wind chimes gave one soft note. Lila squeezed my shoulder. If you file, I'll stand with you. I need to protect my credit, I said. The words made me feel older and 12 at the same time. We drove in silence to the bank. Maya met me again, the calm the room needed. I gave her the dates, the drawer, the promise to tell me after the anniversary. We can mark the accounts disputed, she said. We'll start the investigation. Because it's family law enforcement sometimes recommends mediation first. But fraud is fraud. Document everything. Do not contact the lender yourself right now. Let our team do it. And my credit score. It will dip, she said honestly. Then recover when the items are removed. Freeze stays on. Don't unfreeze without telling me. Kai texted. I'm in the lobby. Do you need snacks or a hug? I typed back, both. He brought me a protein bar and a ridiculous peach candy that tasted like summer didn't care about my life. After the bank, Lila peeled off for a shift. Kai and I went to the diner. Aunt Rosa slid into our booth with a pot of coffee and that look that said she'd stand in front of a moving train for me. She hinted there's more, I said. Big. Rosa's spoon paused. She would call it big. She's dramatic when cornered. Is it true, I asked, that there's something else? Rosa's eyes softened. There are things we don't say because we think silence is mercy. It rarely is. Whose mercy, I asked. Hers or mine? Both, she said. Sit tight for one day. Let your father talk to me. If this comes out, it should be with context. Context doesn't change facts, I said. No, she agreed, but it changes how your heart receives them. I wanted to scream. I didn't. I ate eggs that tasted like history and waited for my phone to light up with Dad's name. It did that evening. He asked me to meet him at the park we used to walk when I was little. There's a bench near the duck pond where he taught me to count the ripples. He sat with a manila envelope on his lap. He looked older than he had yesterday. I found this, he said. Blue thread, bottom of her cedar chest. Of course, the thread again. I didn't touch the envelope. Before we open it, he said, I owe you truth. I should have told long ago. The world went very still. A mallard quacked once like a bad joke. Dad stared at the pond. "You were not born in St. Agnes," he said, naming the hospital on my birth certificate. "Your mother miscarried the year before you. She lost a lot of blood. There were complications. She could still carry a pregnancy, they said, but with high risk. She was terrified. She also wanted a second daughter more than she wanted breath. We waited. We tried. It didn't happen." He swallowed. A woman came into Rosa's diner. She was young, no ring. She was leaving town. She had a baby girl. She asked Rosa for a glass of water and a phone. Rosa called me after the woman left a note. She wanted someone to raise the child. No agencies, no questions. It was not legal. It was also the only door we saw. The bench tilted. My stomach rose. I gripped the wood. "We paid for a lawyer afterward," Dad said. "We did a formal guardianship. We amended the birth record when the court allowed it. The envelope has the papers. Your mother wanted to tell you at 16, then at 18, then when you finished college, then after the anniversary. She thought time would make it easier. It made it heavier. The voice that came out of me wasn't the one I use with clients or friends. It was the one I used at 7 when Mom said my cupcakes tasted like soap. Tiny, thin. Does Lila know? She knows we had help, Dad said. Not the details. He faced me fully. I'm your father, in every way that matters. I cut your pancakes into stars and taught you to ride a bike and held you during fevers and concerts, and the night you called me from a parking lot, crying because your engine made a new sound. I am your father. Biology is a fact. Love is a practice. I stared at the envelope, my name in Mom's block letters. M-I-N-A. My hands wouldn't move. How could she be so cruel if she chose me? I asked. It slipped out. It landed between us like a stone. Dad's eyes filled. I don't think she knows why she does what she does. She wanted you so badly, she tried to sculpt you into something she thought would survive. She hurt you trying to protect herself from the loss she never got over. That doesn't excuse theft, I said. No, he said. It explains none of the fraud. It only surrounds it. I took the envelope. I opened it. There was the guardianship order. A hospital discharge form from another county. A notarized letter from the young mother. No name. Just a signature that looked like a wave. She had written, "Please give her what I can't." There was a photo, a baby wrapped in a yellow blanket with a duck embroidered on the corner. My mouth, Lila's eyes. Or maybe I only saw what I needed to. I put the photo back before it could become a hole. "Do you want to meet her?" Dad asked quietly. "I want my credit back," I said. "I want my name to be mine." Then after a breath, "And maybe later, I'll want to know where my mouth came from." "Not today." He nodded. "Whatever you choose." He hesitated. "Mina, I know you're thinking about police. I can't ask you not to. I can only ask you to let me try to get her to sign what's needed to unwind this first. If she refuses, I will help you go all the way." "I'm not protecting her image," I said. "I'm protecting you," he said. "Court is a loud room, it echoes. Quiet rooms can hold lies," I said. He smiled a little. "You're not wrong." We sat until the sun slid behind the trees. On the walk back to the cars, he said Rosa will tell you what she remembers. She was the first one to hold you. Rosa, the revealer. I texted her as soon as I sat in my car. She replied tomorrow at dawn, before the breakfast rush. At home, I spread the documents on my table. I skipped dinner. My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. "Are you okay? Can I call?" I sent her a photo of the guardianship order, then typed, "I'm adopted." She called immediately. We didn't have words for a while. Then she said, "You're my sister in the ways that have weight. We keep that." I believed her. Sleep didn't visit. I lay in the dark and listened to the building settle. I thought about all the times Mom had said our blood when she meant my rules. I thought about the calendar note. I thought about the forged M. I thought about the lemon tree that wasn't ours when I came home. Morning smelled like coffee and bleach at the diner. Rosa poured for me, then took my hands. "You were tiny," she said. "So mad at the world for the size of your lungs." I took one look and thought, that one is going to rearrange rooms. She told me the whole story. The girl with the navy backpack, the way she held me like I was already slipping away, the cash in an envelope with a note, the old lawyer who handled quiet cases and kept a Bible on his desk, the judge who looked at Mom and Dad and said, If you're going to love this child, do it out loud. She did love you, Rosa said. She just loved you through fear. Fear distorts. I won't let it distort my accounts, I said. Good, Rosa said. Hold both truths. Stand firm. After breakfast, I met Maya again. I told her the adoption piece because it explained records. Not the fraud, but the paper trail. Maya listened, then slid me a card. A lawyer who handles family-adjacent fraud, she said. Low fee, high spine. If you want. I also texted Aaron. Thank you for warning me. Please don't share bank details. He replied, I won't. I'm sorry I didn't push sooner. If you want resources, I have them. No strings. By noon, step by quiet step, the day arranged itself into action. I filed a formal police report with the case number Maya gave me. The officer took my statement without judgment. He asked for copies. I provided them. He said a detective would follow up. I visited the county recorder. I searched for UCC liens under my name. There it was. Quang Floral Secured Party Sunland Debtor, Mina Quang. I paid for certified copies. Holding them felt like carrying a weight that wasn't mine. I called the supply company, listed on the store card. A woman named Bev pulled the account. Shipments go to Quang Floral, she said. Billing to your email. She read the email out loud. One letter off from mine. A trick as old as the internet. I asked for IP logs. She said legal would need to request them. I said, expect it. I wrote a timeline. I printed it. I taped it to my wall next to Dad's old line. You do not have to be anyone else to deserve applause. At 3, Leela texted Mom wants to clear the air tonight. Dad says he'll be there. Do you want me? Yes, I typed. At 6, I walked into the house, carrying a folder and a spine I'd borrowed from someone tougher than me. The dining room was set like peace placemats, water and crystal napkins folded like little boats. Mom had made soup. The smell pulled at a part of me that still wanted home to be simple. We sat without eating. I was wrong, Mom said, before anyone else could speak. The words stumbled. About the accounts. About not telling you. I thought I was protecting you from worry. You were protecting yourself from consequences, Lila said. I was protecting this family's reputation. Mom snapped, then stopped hearing herself. Which is not the same as protecting the people in it, she added brittle. I laid the documents on the table. Here's what's going to happen, I said, keeping my tone level. She blinked. She's not used to directives that don't come from her. You will sign affidavits admitting you opened these accounts, I said, tapping each page. You will sign a letter to Sunland and the supply company stating I did not authorize them. You will agree to a payment plan with Sunland under your name only. You will remove my account from any autopay you touched. You will reimburse what was taken. Her face reddened. Where do you think I will find that kind of money? You found it when you needed inventory, I said. Sell assets. Cut the shop's expansion. Ask for a payment plan. Tell your friends the truth, you dress up for them. She flinched. You would humiliate me. I'm trying to make sure a future landlord doesn't humiliate me when they run my credit, I said. Dad slid a pen across the table. Sign, he said to her voice, gravel and regret. She stared at him like he'd chosen a team. Then she looked back at me, and if I don't, I pursue them, yes, I said, all the way. She studied my face, looking for a child, finding a woman who can plate a meal with tweezers and put her own name back where it belongs. She signed the first page. Her hand shook. She signed the second. Then she put the pen down and looked at the envelope Dad had brought home, the one I hadn't returned. You know, she said. I know, I said. From Dad, from Rosa. Tears gathered. Not dramatic, tired. I wanted you so much, she said. When the judge said yes, I promised I would make you into someone the world couldn't ignore. I confused that with making you into someone I could control. My throat tightened. I let the feeling exist. I didn't let it steer. You had 20 years to tell me, I said. You picked the 12th of every month instead. She closed her eyes like that landed where nothing else had. Your taste is your inheritance, Dad said to me, trying to lift us. Not her debt. For a beat, no one spoke. Then Mom reached for the pen again. She signed the rest without bargaining. When it was done, Lila gathered the pages like evidence and mercy. Good, she said. Next we talk about boundaries. We can do that after soup, Dad said, voice soft pleading, for one normal moment. I almost laughed. Soup, after all this? We ate. The broth tasted like ginger and garlic, and all the apologies people don't know how to say. After dishes, I stood. I'm going, I said. We can finish paperwork tomorrow with a notary. After that, we'll tell the truth to who has to hear it. Mom walked me to the door. Mina, she said. It was the first time she'd said my name all night without an edge. Do you want to know her name? The girl who... Not today, I said. Today belongs to my credit score. A smile twitched. Died, fair. Outside, the lemon tree rustled. The wind chimes sang a little. In my car, my phone lit up. A text from Maya Sunland acknowledged receipt. Investigation opened. Another from the officer detective will call tomorrow. Another from Aaron. If you want a template for an affidavit, I can send you one, I replied. Send it. One more from an unknown number. This is Bev from Quinn Wholesale's Legal. We received the request. We'll preserve logs. I exhaled. At home, I spread the signed pages on my table to dry. Kai came over with takeout and a stapler. He organized the stack with the precision of a surgeon and the attitude of a bouncer. You okay? He asked. I found out I'm adopted, I said, as if I were reporting the weather. And I made my mother sign a confession. He whistled. Tuesday's doing a lot. We ate on the floor. Halfway through, my phone buzzed with Lila's name. She's unraveling the text read. But she signed. Proud of you. I wrote back, proud of us. When the food was gone, Kai held up the envelope with the unknown mother's letter. When you're ready, he said. Later, I said. I still have to sleep once as this version of myself. He nodded. You're new and old at the same time. I like her. I set an alarm. I laid my head down. Sleep came like someone turned a dimmer switch slowly. Before it took me, I thought of the calendar note again. After the anniversary, or never. I chose a third option now. Morning would bring a detective and notary, and the first official step toward returning my name to me. It would also bring a message I didn't expect from someone whose signature looked like a wave and a final breadcrumb from the drawer I hadn't seen the first time. The proof was only part of it. The truth was wider, and I was walking into it with my eyes open. Morning broke clean and loud. My phone lit up before coffee. Detective Collins, the voice said. You filed a report regarding identity theft. Can you come in at 10 with any documentation you have? I said. I have a lot. Bring all of it, he said. And a support person if you want one. I texted Kai and Lila. Kai replied with a thumbs up and a croissant emoji. Lila wrote, I'll meet you there. Dad, too. At the precinct, the fluorescent lights hummed like nerves. Collins had soft eyes and a haircut that looked like he let a cousin practice. He listened without interrupting while I laid out the stack statements, auto pay logs, the UCC lien, the signed affidavits from last night. He read the dates like a path through a field he knew well. Family cases are the worst, he said finally. People think the word family changes the law. It doesn't. You did the right thing, Ms. Kwang. We'll open a formal investigation. Our financial crimes unit will contact Sunland and the supplier. In the meantime, do not contact Sunland or Quinn Wholesale yourself. Do not agree to any repayment plans outside of counsel. If your mother contacts you to retract, refer her to me. I don't plan to retract, I said. Good, he said, because this can get messy. You'll be asked to choose between peace and repairs. My advice, choose repairs. Peace built on mold collapses. He slid a victim advocate card across the table. They can help with credit housing, even counseling referrals. Fraud isn't just numbers, it's trust. Lila squeezed my knee under the table. Dad cleared his throat. Thank you, he said. We appreciate your time. On the way out, Lila pulled me into a hug so sudden it turned me to wood. You were clear, she said. I'm proud of you. We drove straight to the notary. A woman named Felice checked our IDs, tapped the date, and watched my mother's hand move across paper. Mom had come alone, chin held, high hair perfect. She didn't look at me while she signed only at the lines as if the ink might bite. I acknowledged that I, Elizabeth Kwong, opened the following accounts without the knowledge or consent of my daughter, Mina Kwong. Felice read aloud. Neutral, clean, no room for story. Mom's pen trembled. She finished the last page and finally lifted her eyes. There, she said. Now will you stop? No, I said. Now I can start. Outside, the sun made everything look honest. It wasn't. Lila and I walked to our cars in silence. At my door, her phone pinged. She glanced down, frowned, and showed me the screen. Sunland. We have received an affidavit, signed by account agent. Temporary hold placed. Autopay removed. My lungs expanded for the first time all morning. One piece stopped bleeding. Back at my apartment, I set the signed pages on the table to dry. I made tea I forgot to drink. I told my hands to be still. They shook anyway. The call came at noon. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text arrived. "This is Marin. I was told not to contact you, but the lawyer's daughter found my letter and said you might want a name. If you don't delete this. If you do, I'm here." Then a small wave emoji. I sat down hard. The signature in the old letter had looked like water. A stroke that rose and fell. Marin. C-name. My thumb hovered over the keyboard like it might break something by moving. How did she get my number? The next message answered. "Rosa gave me this only after Mr. Hart's girl called and confirmed you were grown. I've lived 3 towns over all these years. I never wanted to break what you had." I stared at the word Rosa until it blurred. Aunt Rosa spilling coffee, holding secrets like hot plates no one else could carry. I typed 3 words. "I got your letter." A bubble appeared, then stopped. Then appeared again. "I have more," Marin wrote. "Only if you want more." I didn't answer, not yet. I texted Rosa. "Did you give my number to someone named Marin?" Her reply came quick. "Yes, the lawyer died. His daughter brought me a sealed envelope for the baby when she is grown. Your father said you deserved the choice we kept postponing. I will explain in person if you want to throw a pie at me first." I smiled despite everything. No pie. Dinner. After rush. She sent a heart and a whisk. Before I could set my phone down, another message blinked. "Lila. Dad found something else in the office. False bottom in the drawer. There's a key. Harbor Bank. Box 081. He thinks Mom kept a break glass stash. Do you want in? Yes." I typed it faster than I could think. We met Dad outside Harbor Bank. He looked like he hadn't slept, which made 3 of us. A polite clerk led us to a small room and a metal drawer that slid out like a secret tongue. The key turned. The lid lifted. Inside a flat velvet pouch, a slim notebook, and a bundle of cashier's checks, elastic banded together. Lila whistled softly. She planned for rain. Dad opened the notebook. Pages of columns, debts, dates, arrows between accounts. On the back page, a list. Sell extra cooler. End Saturday florist class. Cancel expansion. Tell Mina after anniversary. Or never. Crossed out. Rewritten. Underlined. Erased. He turned the pouch over and spilled a small cascade onto the table. Not jewelry. Flash drives. 4 of them. Each labeled Shop House Tax Mina. My stomach went cold. Dad tried Mina. The drive asked for a password. Lila and I looked at each other. "Flower names," we said together. "Start with ours," she added. She always named with meaning. Lila is lilac. I typed L1 lack nothing. Lila 1990. Nothing. Rosa no. I tried Lemire entry. The cursor spun. The drive opened. Folders. PDFs. Scans of every document she'd touched with my name. Some I knew, some I didn't. A cable bundle I'd never seen. An insurance rider for a storage unit. A list of talking points in Mom's handwriting titled, "When She Finds Out." The first bullet read, "I wanted you safe." The second, "Your birth mother asked me to." The room tilted. What Lila said. Dad leaned in. "Read it." I opened the note. It wasn't long. It was Mom's voice talking to herself. Marin said, "Don't tell her until she's anchored." She was afraid of the pull. She begged me to wait. I honored it. I wish I hadn't. I wish I hadn't. The last line repeated slanted darker with each pass. I thought of the text with a wave. I thought of the judge in Rosa's story. I thought of permissions and promises. I didn't know whether to be angry, grateful, or both until my ribcage cracked. Anchor, Leela said. Career Dad guessed. Home. A sense of self. See also the opposite of how Mom treated me, I said. He shut his eyes. You're right. Lila put a hand on my shoulder. We'll ask Marin, not Mom. We took photos of the ledger pages. We left the checks and came back to my apartment with the drives and the notebook. It felt like stealing from a thief. It felt like reclaiming what had never been offered. At 4, Rosa slid into my booth with hair escaping its clip and a face that could calm a storm. I gave her your number, she said without preamble. I'm sorry for not asking first. You've protected me my whole life, I said. Even when you were protecting Mom. She nodded guilt and love in the same breath. Marin came back to the diner twice in the first year. She sat 2 booths over and ordered tea and didn't drink it. She watched you chew on your fist and fling peas. She left before your mother saw her. The third time she left a note. It said, "Please wait until she knows who she is. I can be selfish and ask to see her, or I can be wise and leave." She chose wise. It broke her. "She lived 3 towns away," I said, "all these years." "She worked at a garden center," Rosa said. "She married late, no other children. She kept that P.O. box in case you ever wanted to write." Mr. Hart, the lawyer, kept her sealed letter in the file to deliver when you turned 21. He had a stroke. It sat in his desk. His daughter found it last week. "Her text said she has more," I said. "She does," Rosa said. "She gave me a box for you 3 years ago. I wouldn't take it. It felt like a betrayal to your mother to sneak around. That was cowardly of me. I'm done being cowardly." "What's in the box?" I asked. She didn't say, Rosa answered. She only said, "When Mina knows, she'll know if she wants it." I leaned back against the vinyl and stared at the ceiling fan. "I don't know if I want it." "That's an answer too," Rosa said. "You can want it later. You can never want it. It's yours to choose." We hugged. I left with the smell of coffee in my hair and a list of questions in my pocket. That night, I wrote to Marin not to open anything, only to build a fence I could move. "I don't want to meet yet, but I have questions." I sent 3. "Why me? Did you ever see me after?" "What did you tell the judge?" Her replies came gently like stepping on quiet snow. "Why you?" "Because I was 20 and stupid and brave in the wrong ways. Because I loved someone who loved the road more than names. Because I walked into a diner and saw a man who looked at his sister like she could stop a train. I asked your aunt for water, and she handed me a chair. And your father, you were not in his arms yet, and he was already making room. I chose safety. Did I ever see you?" "Yes, twice. Maybe 3 if you count the time I watched your dad lift you to smell basil in a planter outside the shop, and you sneezed and laughed. I didn't come again after that. I wanted to keep moving so you could root." "What did I tell the judge?" I told him the truth. I could hold that I couldn't offer you a home that didn't bend in the wind. I told him I would not come back and change my mind. I told him my name and asked him to keep it quiet until you were grown. He did. I read those lines until the screen blurred. Then I put my phone face down and stared at the lemon I'd picked up on my way home. It was bright and pocked and imperfect. It looked like every meal I'd ever made that mattered. The next morning, the detective called. Sunland confirmed the affidavit, he said. "They've flagged the account. The supplier is cooperating. We'll likely move to a formal interview with your mother by the end of the week. Are you safe at home?" I said. He told me to save every text. I told him I saved everything. He laughed. Teacher's kid, he guessed. I can tell. After the call, Aaron texted. I sent the affidavit template. "Also, I'm sorry about the drawer scene. I should have pushed Lila to bring it up sooner when your mom asked me about refinancing. I didn't want to be the son-in-law who meddled. I ended up being the son-in-law who watched. You warned me," I wrote back. "That counts. Do you need me to explain any of the bank language?" he asked. "I need you to keep Lila steady," I said. "Mom's going to lean on her." "Done," he replied. By noon, Mom leaned. She showed up at my door with a Tupperware of soup and a face that looked 10 years older than yesterday. "I'm going to lose the shop if you don't stop," she said. No greeting, just velocity. "You're going to lose the shop if you don't tell the truth," I said. I didn't invite her in. "I did tell the truth," she said. I signed. I admitted. "Isn't that what you wanted?" "I wanted you to want to make it right," I said, "not make it quiet." Her eyes flashed. "You think I'm a monster, after everything I did to keep us afloat. You think stealing my name is a small thing," I said. "That's the gap we can't cross yet." We stood in the hall. The neighbor's dog barked once. Somewhere a baby cried. Life continued like traffic, while my mother and I held a knife made of words between us. "I got a message," I said finally, "from Marin." Her face changed. Fear slid in. "What did she say?" "She said she asked you to wait," I said. "To tell me when I was anchored." "She did," Mom whispered. Then sharper, "She has no right to reach out now. She gave up the right to raise me," I said. "Not the right to exist." Tears gathered. She blinked hard, angry at their disobedience. "Do you want her more than me?" "No," I said. "I want me." I want all the pieces that make me me. You made a lot of them. She made some. I get to hold both without handing one back. She looked down at the soup like it had betrayed her by being warm. Take this, she said. It's your favorite. Not today, I said. She left. The Tupperware stayed in her hands. I closed the door and leaned against it until my knees remembered their job. Around 3, Dad texted, "We need a new system, joint oversight, separate accounts, a real accountant. If your mom wants the shop, she has to accept rules." He added a link to a bookkeeper he liked. I wrote back, yes. By evening, the drives were cloned, the affidavits scanned the timeline, updated the detective's folder neatly labeled. Action was the only thing that settled my pulse. I didn't know how to fix 30 years of patterns. I could fix paper. At 9, my phone buzzed. Marin again. There was one more thing in the letter the lawyer's daughter found. He wanted you to have my contact whenever you were ready, but he also left a note for you from himself. He said he never writes to clients, but he broke his rule once. Do you want it? She attached a photo of a handwritten page. Old man loops, careful lines. Mina, if this ever reaches you, it means my worst habit saving one more paper served someone. I saw your parents in a courtroom ask for permission to love you. Your mother held herself like a soldier. Your father looked like he was already in awe of you. Your birth mother looked like a storm that had finally chosen a direction. I don't know what they did after. I only know what I saw in them that day. Resolve. If the truth reaches you at a time that causes more harm than good, forgive my part in that. I erred on the side of waiting. If it reaches you when you can hold it gently. People are messy. Paper is tidy. Trust your own eyes the most. J. Hart. I cried then. Not loud, not long. Quiet tears that washed grit. I wrote back to Marin. Thank you for sending that. I don't want to meet. But if I write you a letter, can you keep it and not answer until I say? Of course, she wrote. I kept quiet this long. I can keep quiet a little longer. I just wanted you to have a name if you wanted one. I did, I said. Names matter. The next 2 days moved like a slow machine. Collins called to schedule Mom's interview. Sunland's investigator emailed to confirm the hold. Quinn Wholesale's legal team replied that they would produce IP logs pursuant to the police request. Maya checked in to make sure I was breathing. Lila came by after a shift and fell asleep on my couch with shoes on. I covered her with a blanket and looked at her face in rest. It was my favorite thing about my sister, how the lines of responsibility fade when she finally lets go. She woke an hour later and sat up hair wild. Do you ever feel like your life is a room you grew in and now the furniture doesn't fit? All the time, I said. What are you going to do about Marin, she asked. Right, I said. Not meet, not yet. What are you going to do about Mom, she asked. Require, I said. Not forgive, not yet. She smiled without humor. Surgery words. Sous chef words too, I said. Prep, plan, execute. We laughed. It felt fragile and good. On the morning of Mom's interview, Dad texted. She's scared. She says she'll say anything to make it go away. Tell her to say the truth, I replied. He sent a single word. Trying. Collins called that afternoon. She admitted to opening the accounts, he said. She claims she intended to tell you. She gave a long explanation about the shop and family resources. The DA will likely offer a diversion program if restitution is made and you agree. If not, we can pursue charges. It's your call. I stared at the lemon on my counter. I want restitution. I want her to have to learn new rules. I don't need her in cuffs. I need my name clean. Then we'll recommend diversion with conditions, he said. If she violates it, becomes a case. I'll loop you in on the paperwork. I thanked him and hung up. My phone lit again immediately. Mom. Voicemail, then text. I told them everything. They want me to sign things and go to classes like I'm a child. Are you happy? I typed. Deleted. Typed again. I'm not happy. I'm relieved. Do the program. Pay what you owe. Learn. I raised you, she replied. You owe me faith. I owe you respect for the good, I wrote back. And boundaries for the harm. No dots appeared. No answer came. That night, Kai showed up with cake and tiny forks. Celebration for minor victories, he said. Hold the major till later. We ate standing up like kids at a counter. He asked about Marin. I told him about the letter and the wave and the judge. He nodded. Write her your way. Draw lines. Change them if you need. You're allowed. I don't know what to ask, I said. Ask what you'd ask a stranger you trust, he said. Not what you'd ask a mother. That word comes with gravity you don't have to lift yet. So I wrote. I asked about food. What did you feed yourself when you were 20 and brave in the wrong ways? Did you like your coffee black? What scent makes you stop in the aisle? No big questions. Not yet. She replied the next day with a list of small answers that somehow made room to breathe. Toast and tomatoes with too much salt, cinnamon coffee, the smell of wet soil after rain. She added, I don't want to tell you who your father is until you ask. Not because he matters more than he should, but because I don't want to hand you a door you don't want. I put the phone down. I stood at my window and watched the blue hour settle over the street. The sky was still blue. It would be tomorrow, too. On Friday, Dad and I met a bookkeeper named Anya at the shop. She had a jaw that said she didn't blink for liars, and a notebook that had seen things. She listened to Mom's version, then set terms on the table, like plates, separate accounts, dual approvals for transfers, monthly reviews with both parents present, no more keys in sugar tins. Mom bristled. I'm not a child. Anya smiled like a blade. Children don't get diversion programs. Mom signed the engagement letter. Anya scheduled the first review. She looked at me as we left. You're welcome to attend, she said. You're not required. Your job here is done. Almost, I said. One more thing. I went back to the office and opened the second drawer. Bottom left. The place she hid greeting cards and apology notes she never sent. I wasn't looking for paper. I wanted that ledger line insurance writer storage unit. I found it. Unit 27B. Harbor Storage. Paid for 2 years in advance. Lila met me there. The storage office smelled like dust and lost intentions. The manager eyed our papers, then led us down a corridor of metal doors. Ours squealed when it rolled up. Inside wedding arches, boxes of ribbon, a giant fake tree. And in the back, a locked plastic file cabinet. We pried it open with a screwdriver Lila keeps in her trunk. Inside the box, Rosa had refused. I knew it before I saw the little wave on the corner. We sat on the cold concrete. The box was light. We opened it. A tiny knitted hat in duck yellow, a Polaroid of a young woman with hair like the sea, and a crooked smile holding a baby wrapped in that hat. A journal thin with entries that stopped the week after I was born. The last line read, I choose to be the person she thanks someday, not the person she has to forgive. A folded receipt from the diner for tea and a grilled cheese. The name on the ticket, MAR. There were also things from Mom. A letter to me never sent. I'm a better florist than Mother, she wrote. I can make a room smell like heaven, and I cannot stop arranging my daughters. And yet I chose you. I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. The date was the day after my silver medal. I put the journal back. I held the hat. I pictured the judge, the diner, the basil plant, the porch, the blue thread, all the ways love tried and missed and tried again. We locked the unit. We walked into the afternoon like people leaving a museum they didn't know they lived in. As we reached the cars, my phone buzzed. Collins, diversion approved, restitution schedule attached. She must attend financial accountability classes, complete a fraud prevention course, and write a letter of apology acknowledging harm. If she misses a payment, the case reopens. Your credit will update within 60 days. He added, You did well. I sent the schedule to Dad. He replied, We'll make the payments. If your mother stumbles, I won't let it fall on you. At home, I set the duck yellow hat on my desk. I put Marin's journal in a drawer I could reach. I took the lemon from the counter and zested it over a pan. I cooked something simple and bright and ate it standing up because I could. Later, I texted Marin one sentence. I found the box. Then after a beat, I'm not ready to meet. But one day I might want to smell basil with you. She replied with a wave. And then there's time. Before bed, I wrote 3 more lists. 1 for Mom, new rules. Boundaries. Therapy or I step back. 1 for Dad, shared passwords reviews. No secrets dressed as protection. 1 for me, rest. Work, build. Do not let this become your only story. Sleep finally came like a door clicking softly. The wind chimes outside my window sang once and were quiet. In the morning, I'd shoot a small campaign for a local bakery that paid on time and in full. I'd email Maya an update. I'd meet Anya for the first shop review if invited. I'd walk past the flower shop and try not to think every petal was an apology. And I'd start writing a letter to a woman who signed her name like the sea. I'd tell her about toast with too much salt, about cinnamon coffee, about how wet soil smells after rain. I'd tell her about a duck yellow hat I found in a storage unit on a Friday, and how I held it like a future. One more thing waited at the edge of all this. A name I hadn't asked for, a father I hadn't met. A question I wasn't ready to put into the air because once you ask it, you can't pretend it isn't yours. I'd let it sit. I'd let it be a wave on the horizon. I'd learn to swim to it when I wanted, not drown in it because someone pushed me. For now, the papers were signed. The money was shifting back to the right hands. The truth was bigger, yes. It also made room. Part of me still heard Mom's voice in the kitchen. Part of me heard Rosa's laugh through the diner clatter. Part of me heard Marin's quiet in a text with a little blue wave. Mostly I heard my own voice. Low, clear, steady. It said, keep going. Next, I would have to decide what going meant when a family holiday came around, and the lemon tree needed pruning, and Mom needed to sit across from me without breaking the air. I would have to decide how to be a daughter who drew lines and a sister who held space, and a woman who did not abandon herself to make the room calm. That decision would come in its own scene, with its own soup, with its own wind chimes, and something else too. A letter on heavy paper from a law office I'd never heard of asking for a meeting about a matter concerning the guardianship of Ms. Mina Kwong. Because even when you think the drawer is empty, there is always one more paper, and sometimes that paper changes everything again. 6 months later, the wind chimes sound different. Maybe it's the angle. Maybe it's me. The bank letters came first. Items removed. Score recovering, hold lifted. Maya sent a final checklist with a smiley face and call if anything blips. Nothing blipped. Detective Collins closed the case with the diversion terms intact. Mom attends her financial accountability class on Tuesdays and sends me a photo of the workbook like a kid showing homework. Restitution lands the 12th of every month with a note that says returning what I borrowed. The date used to be a wound. Now it's a stitch. The law office letter turned out to be two things at once. Mr. Hart's daughter, Ruth, had found a filing error from years ago. Our court had converted guardianship to adoption, but an old index still showed guardianship open. It meant my records were technically in process. It also meant someone could use that technicality to question signatures if they were cruel and bored. Ruth offered to fix it pro bono. She also had a small envelope from a trust that had been sitting since I turned 21, money Marin's parents deposited in case she ever needs a door. I didn't need the door to survive. I used it to secure a lease for a bigger studio with a sink deep enough to bathe a watermelon. I named the space door. I sent Ruth flowers that didn't need water. We met in court once fast. I stood between Dad and Lila while the judge signed the correction order. Mom sat 2 rows back, hands folded, lips pressed to student who finally realized the test isn't open book. The judge looked over his glasses. Paper should match truth, he said, and banged the gavel like a metronome finally catching the song. I wrote to Marin every Sunday morning. Small questions, small answers. Her letters smelled faintly of soil. She told me the names of her favorite roses, the Latin, and the way customers mispronounced them with confidence. I told her about the bakery chute where a toddler ate every prop within reach, and about an apricot tart so beautiful I wanted to mail it to someone and say, here, proof that light can be held. We never said mother. We didn't need to yet. We used our names like stepping stones. Mom sold the storage unit. She also sold the Saturday classes she ran at the shop to a younger florist with bright eyes and a spreadsheet. Anya set guardrails and audits and a rule we all like 2 signatures for every transfer, and one of them can't be Elizabeth's. Mom hated that at first. Then she liked being caught before she could fall. She won't say that out loud. Her texts have learned thank you. It sits awkward on her thumbs. It's still real. Dad is softer somehow, not weaker, softer like bread out of the oven. He drops by my studio with oranges and clipping shears in case you need to threaten a branch. We have standing basil to smell. When he leaves, he says proud of you like a benediction rather than an announcement. Lila's life is still a blur of rounds and Lily's crayons. We have a jar on my coffee table labeled no comparisons. Every time one of us says something like, I should be more like we drop a coin in. At the end of the month, we spend it on noodles, too spicy for regret. Aaron comes sometimes, and we let him be smug when the bill arrives, and he insists on paying because bankers don't get enough chances to be heroes. He still texts with bracketed explanations when documents arrive like, this clause just means they can't surprise you. He is the validator, even when nobody asked him to be. I'm grateful anyway. Kai and I built the new studio together. He painted props and calibrated lights. He labeled drawers with a labeler he refuses to let me touch because I center labels like a chaos goblin. He's the reason the place hums. He taped a note above the sink on day 1. Your taste is your inheritance. Dad's line in Sharpie permanent as we can make it. The first big job at Door came from a cookware brand that remembered my tiny kitchen shoot from 2 years ago. They sent me pans a brief and an email that said, we trust your eye. I plated a lemon pasta that glowed like it could cheer up a winter. The client approved the first round with 0 notes. I took a picture of the screen and sent it to Mom, Dad, Lila, Rosa, and without explanation to Marin. The replies came in their voices. Dad knew it. Lila, look at that sauce sheen. Rosa, when do I taste it, Marin? I can smell the zest through the pixels. Mom, proud. The last one landed like a pebble in a pond. Ripples, not a wave. I let it be small and true. Then came the holiday, the one nobody knew how to hold. We skipped Thanksgiving and called it Soup Day. No turkey, no speeches. We brought soups to my studio and lined them up on the back counter. Lily learned to say minestrone and spilled it on her shirt like a tradition. Aaron carved bread like a surgeon. Dad told dad jokes that made Anya somehow invited groan and ask for another. Rosa brought a pie anyway because she's constitutionally incapable of entering a room without sugar. Mom arrived with a clear broth and no agenda. She put the pot down, looked me in the face, and asked where to stand. I pointed to a spot near the basil. Before we ate, she cleared her throat. I need to say something, she said, voice taut as ribbon. I'm sorry I took your name and spent it. I'm sorry I measured you with someone else's ruler. I'm learning to count different. She looked at Lila. I'm sorry I turned you into a tool. You are a daughter, not a lever. She looked at Dad. I'm sorry I mistook silence for safety. She looked at Rosa. Thank you for loving my children while I learned to ride without training wheels at 62. We stood in a circle of steam and heard her. She didn't ask for absolution. She didn't cry to sweep us away. It was a clean apology. It wasn't magic. It was a plank on a bridge. After soup, Lily found the wind chimes I'd hung by the back door and tapped them with a wooden spoon. They made a shy sound. She laughed like she'd invented bells. That night, when I finally sat down, an email waited. The subject line, a question I won't ask twice. It was from Marin. I don't want to push. I won't. But if you ever want to know his name, the man whose mouth you share, and whose absence taught me the shape of decisions, I can tell you. If you never want to, I can let that name stay where it is on a piece of water moving away. Either way, I will follow your lead. I closed the laptop. I made tea. I looked at the basil because it's become the only ritual that never burns. I thought about the way truth has walked into every room and sat down whether it was invited or not. I thought about all the doors I'd opened and the ones still closed. I wrote back, not now, maybe in a year. Then because I'm me. What's his favorite fruit? She answered quickly. Mango, on the side of the road, eaten with a plastic fork. Of course it is, I wrote, and didn't have to explain what I meant. Spring arrived, holding soft light. The studio calendar filled. A magazine asked for a feature on women reimagining food worlds, which made me laugh, and then panic, and then cook through the panic. I said yes. They sent a photographer who kept calling my basil mint, and I corrected him every time until we were both giggling. The piece ran with photos of my hands and one of me leaning against the sink, hair up, smile not posed. The caption read, "Your taste is your inheritance." They attributed it to me. I left it. The origin story can be oral. Dad didn't mind. He cut the page out and taped it to the fridge. On a Tuesday that looked like any other, Mom finished her classes. She handed me a certificate with a gold seal and a face like someone who'd learned the word enough. She started meeting with a therapist named Joy, which feels like a scriptwriter's joke but is true. Joy asks good questions. Mom texts me the questions sometimes like riddles she wants to solve with me. Where did you learn control? Where did you learn fear? I don't answer every time. I answer sometimes. That's new. Not everything is smooth. Old habits knock like neighbors. When Mom hints at maybe closing the gap with a small personal loan, I point to Anya's rules and say no. When Lila says I should have another promotion by now, I nudge the jar and we drop a quarter in. When Dad reflexively suggests we keep a money thing between us to avoid drama, I say the drama comes from between us. He nods and tells Mom and survives the telling. We reset. Again and again. This is what new looks like, not perfect, just chosen. One afternoon, Rosa brings me a box. For Dor, she says, it's the sign that used to hang over the diner's cash register, pay here. She flips it over, on the back in her neat hand and nowhere else. I hang it above my desk. People laugh when they see it. It also stops them from asking me to do a quick free thing for exposure. Bless Rosa. I see Marin once by accident and on purpose. It happens at the botanical garden on a Sunday when I'm there for light and quiet. A woman sits on a bench near the herb beds wearing a duck yellow scarf. It's barely a color. It's a memory. She doesn't look up. I sit 3 benches away. We text. Is that you? I send. Yes, she sends back. I won't turn unless you ask. We don't turn. We sit with basil and bees and the small gusts that make the chimes near the cafe sing. After 10 minutes, she writes, when you were 3 months old, you sneezed when your father held you over basil. I laughed out loud and had to leave because the laugh had my name in it. I write he still holds leaves under my nose and waits for truth. She writes good. We stand and walk away in opposite directions, like a choreographed scene we didn't rehearse. I don't cry. I buy a packet of basil seeds and mail them to her with no note. The anniversary party we fought over finally happens shrunken and simple by design. A backyard, string lights, lemon bars, no venue minimums, no vendors who invoice in Latin. Lila gives a toast that unknots the air. 40 years means we learn to start again 40 times, she says. It means we learn to say we when I wanted to be right. Mom doesn't ask me for money. She asks me to choose the playlist. I fill it with songs that sound like windows. Dad dances with me in the grass and steps on my toes and laughs like a metronome that skipped and found its place again. The lemon tree drops 3 fruits during the song that played at their wedding. We call it good luck. It feels like it. Near the end of the night, Mom walks up, clutching a folded piece of paper. She doesn't hand it to me. She reads it. Her voice is steady. I used to think love was arranging, putting everything and everyone where they belonged. I measured my daughters against each other like it was math. One always had to be less. Today, I'm letting go of the ruler. Mina, you taught me that taste isn't a grade. It's a way of seeing. Lila, you taught me that excellence isn't armor. It's a tool you put down when you hug your kid. To my family, I'm sorry I mistook control for care. I'm learning care is letting people be exactly who they are and then making soup. Everyone laughs. Some cry. I press my lips together and feel something unclench. Later, she hands me the paper. On the bottom in pencil, she's written, I won't ask to be forgiven. I'll ask to be included. If that's not possible today, I'll show up again tomorrow. I include her, carefully. I don't hand her my keys, I hand her a ladle. On my birthday, a small package arrives with no return address. Inside, a plastic fork and a note. Someday mango. M. I put it in the drawer with the journal and the duck yellow hat. I buy a mango from the market and eat it over the sink with a fork and laugh when the juice runs down my wrist. It tastes like a road and a promise. Dor keeps growing. A chef I admire asks if I'll art direct her book. When the email lands, I sit down on the studio floor because my legs forget their part. I text Kai, scream in all caps for me I'm frozen. He sends 15 A's and shows up with a tape measure and tape for the floor. We map out the timeline. He marks the 12ths in green and grins. New meaning, he says. I nod and let it be. On a night with no deadlines, I cook for my family. The table is crowded with bowls, each labeled in chalk so Lily can read them. Mom arrives with cilantro she washed 3 times and a joke about therapy homework. Dad brings the good olives. Lila steals lemon wedges before they can meet the fish. Rosa pretends to scold her. Aaron dries dishes without being asked. The wind chimes sing with the door opening and closing and opening. When we finally sit, nobody mentions grades or promotions or perfection. We talk about a nurse who brought Lily stickers shaped like stars, about a customer who cried when a bouquet smelled like her grandmother's porch, about a client who paid on time and added a tip because your images made us look like us. Halfway through dessert, Mom says I owe one more thing. She reaches into her tote and pulls out a small battered box. Inside a ring I've never seen. Simple. Gold. Worn smooth by years. It was my mother's, she says. She wanted her second daughter to have it. I never imagined the route. I want you to choose what to do with it. Wear it, melt it down, keep it in a drawer, sell it for a ridiculous bowl. Your choice. I slide it on the middle finger of my left hand. It fits. I'll wear it when I plate citrus, I say, so it knows it gets to touch light. She laughs. It lands soft. We clear dishes, we stack bowls, we let the sink sing. When the door closes behind the last goodnight, the studio is quiet, except for the basil inhaling the evening. I sit with a pen and a blank card. I write to Marin. I'm not ready for the name. I am ready for mango and basil, and maybe someday a bench where we sit and don't have to text to be brave. Thank you for choosing a door. I walked through it. I'm building a room. I seal the card and address it to the P.O. box Ruth gave me. I add a duck stamp because sometimes symbolism is allowed to be obvious. Before bed, I scroll back to the beginning. The porch. The sentence that cracked everything. Then put her on your auto-pay. I read it like a stranger and like myself. I'm not sorry I said it. I'm sorry it had to be said. I'm grateful I had the voice to say it then and the quieter voice to build after. If you stood here, you'd see a lemon tree that keeps trying. A woman who makes rooms quiet when people eat. A family that learned to apologize without losing its shape. A mother who is learning to love without arranging. A sister who put down the lever. A father who traded still water for currents and learned they carry you if you let them. You'd also see the jar with quarters and a little sign, no comparisons. We don't empty it every month now. Sometimes we let the coins sit. A reminder, a wait. I won't pretend this is a fairy tale. Some days Mom backslides into old grooves. Some days I want to go back to silence, because silence is fast. But then Lily bangs the wind chimes with a spoon and shouts music, and even my worst instincts have to laugh. So here's my question, the last one, the one I'm handing to you, because stories are only useful if they turn into mirrors for someone else. Have you ever had to become the first voice that loved you without comparing you? What line did you draw that changed the room, and what did you build after the echo quieted? Tell me in the comments. I'll read every single one with basil under my nose, a lemon on the counter, and a ring that remembers light.